Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Right here.
Lauren over there. How you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, big news. Big news. We'll get to that
Yeah.
in a couple of seconds. We're on Instagram. Find us, Wilder Show Pod. Just search that at Instagram. If you want to send us an email, thanks. And it's podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And the big news, of course, is the death of the Pope. Mm-hmm. He was the 266th pontiff, as I recall.
That's
and
right.
He was 88 years old when he died. Pope Francis had recently had double pneumonia.
He'd been very, very ill.
Very ill. We had talked, and probably this is not the podcast to do this on. Sorry for the preposition, but we were talking not so long ago about the prophecies of Malachi. Yeah, Saint Malachi.
Uh-huh.
Saint Malachi's prophecies regarding the Pope and who would be the last Pope and what that would mean and all those things. It's sort of the Catholic Nostradamus, sort of. Like a priest Nostradamus or a saint Nostradamus, sort of like that, right?
Yeah.
And so he had back in the 1500s or something, he had bunches of predictions, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of those is, one we would talk about like right about now. And we were talking about that when the Pope's health was waning.
Yeah. And
we said, hey, at some point soon, might have to pull out the old St. Malachi prophecies and talk a little bit about that. And, of course, today didn't seem like the day to do it, obviously.
Nah. I agree.
Not that they're not serious things. They are, and but it's not really the time just to be academic about this. This Pope will be remembered for being rather progressive. Mm-hmm. I think the two areas that he is probably most going to be most remembered for is he was had a very strong, some would say politically liberal position on immigration or migrants. Mm-hmm. He was traditionally very compassionate to the poor, which that's not unique to this particular pontiff. But then his position on LGBT and all that was quite a bit of a departure for the Catholic Church. I mean, he famously said, "Who am I to judge?" Remember that? That was a quote. Mm-hmm. And I even when he said that, I thought, wow, if you don't have enough information to come to a conclusion regarding whatever it was, how would the rest of us? But I remembered, because for me, so many things, and you too, so many things lead to one of the greatest shows of all time, Law and Order. It was our man Jack McCoy. Yeah, he is arguing it's actually a religious case, and someone is suggesting to the judge in chambers, saying to the judge, an angel told me to do it, or the devil made me do it, or something like that. And so she says, I think I'm going to allow that defense. And Jack McCoy is just
he's indignant.
He's apoplectic.
Yeah.
He can't believe it. And so she says, if the defendant really believes this is what caused him to do this, who am I to say he's wrong? And Jack immediately says, you're a judge in a court of law. I mean, can't you see him saying that?
I can.
He's just so fantastic. Jack McCoy, man, Sam Waterston, he is the man. Loved that show. Of course, not just because there was a Scott Wilder episode or two or three. The Scott Wilder name was in 3 of those episodes. 3.
I'm only remembering 2. Yeah.
Well, one he was involved in. It was the Joe Piscopo episode where there were some gambling things going on in a restaurant, and another one was a guy that had reserved time in the music room to rehearse his cello.
Okay.
So, or no, violin. It was violin.
Okay.
So it was a violin. So it was a violin player, Scott Wilder. There was a mob-ish Scott Wilder, and then there was a kid that was killed. That was the main Scott Wilder episode. on Law and Order. As I say all this, I realize how far we have strayed from our original topic. I'm sorry about that.
That happens to us,
but
every once in a while.
Just a tad.
I was going to say, we love Jack McCoy so much. I have a dog named after him. But that would make us stray even more, even further away from the topic at hand. It's just our deep love and affection for Jack McCoy.
But Pope Francis passed away, and we will at some point, soon maybe. Well, is it a 9-day? There's a whole plan when a pope dies. Do you have that plan in front of you?
No, but I could find it.
Pull that up real quick while I'm explaining that there is a plan. When a pope dies, and by the way, some of the old traditions regarding a death of a pope, those traditions are really, really weird. And they had to do with, making sure he really was dead or whatever. I don't think we live in that same day anymore. They know, when somebody's dead now. But there's a whole thing that goes on. It's like 9 days of this, and this has to happen, and then you got to watch for the smoke, and it's got to turn white. And
well, the smoke the smoke comes when they're choosing the new pope.
That's right. It's
right?
after the 9-day mourning period.
Yeah,
because it's like check me on this. I think it's like a 9-day mourning period, and then after that there is the whatever and the burial, the funeral and the burial, or the encryptment or whatever they do there. The 9-day mourning period begins, after which they go into they have something with all the gathering. They lock them all in and make them listen to God and see who's going to be the next pope.
Yeah.
That may be the
conclave.
Maybe a reduction. The conclave.
The conclave.
Oh, like
begins.
the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see that?
Never saw it.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be a thing. And so all that to say, we have time before we have to get to St. Malachi. But somebody like right now, right now, somebody might want to go and look into that. St. Malachi.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting, don't you think?
I do.
Yeah, I think so.
I do.
So rest in peace, Pope Francis. There you go.
So there's, when I asked you if you'd seen the movie Conclave, it's because one of the in reading about all of this, just since we found out that the Pope had died, one of the links under one of the articles I read was the cast of Conclave weighs in on the passing of the Pope, and I just thought that was,
Isn't that odd?
You're really looking for pools from which to draw if you need their thoughts on this. But did you know that the Pope did not live in the penthouse apartment in the Apostolic Palace that most popes have lived in?
I did actually hear that. It was almost like, and this is, again, probably a reduction, but like, the Beverly Hillbillies where they have the mansion, and then out back they have the place where Granny was more comfortable.
Yes, it's more humble quarters.
Yeah,
he resided
which I thought was kind of cool.
In a 2-room suite in the Vatican St. Martha guest house. It reminds me of he's like the Rich Mullins of Vatican City. Do you remember that Rich Mullins when he started making money? He told his management, I don't even want to know how much.
Right.
I'm going to keep living in Wichita, Kansas, and I want to make deposit into my account what the median income of Wichita, Kansas, and just kept living a very humble life.
Yeah. Now let me put an asterisk on that, because I do remember that he was at a car dealership.
Yeah.
It was a Ford dealership, and he was came out as the guest or whatever, and then just really liked the Ford Bronco, and called his manager and bought a Ford Bronco. I think he paid cash for a Ford Bronco, and then drove it back to Wichita.
Way to ruin my story.
Well, let me go back and redeem it a little bit. He probably drove barefoot. So rest in peace, Pope Francis. Yeah.
So Pete Hegseth is in trouble again for yet a second signal chat that maybe included people. Well, it did include people that it should not have included. And I guess this happened. It happened sometime in the last month, but it was just discovered over the weekend. And that it was regarding details that he shared about last month's strikes in Yemen with his wife and brother in a group chat that was on his personal phone through the messaging app Signal.
Yeah. And I think there were some real no. The pushback on this is nothing secure, nothing. What do you call it? Classified. Was shared, but it just doesn't look good.
It doesn't make you worry at all about just the judgment. In general,
there are several things. Yes, is the short answer.
I mean, if your kid drives, if your kid drives a car with, let's not even. I was going to say, get alcohol or something involved. Let's not even say that. If your kid drives a car without a driver's license, and then they say at the end of it, "Well, I didn't get caught and nobody got hurt," that doesn't mean that you feel good about them.
Yeah.
It says something about their judgment.
Well, I've used the old thing of just because you don't get hit by a car doesn't mean it's a good idea to play in the street.
Sure.
I mean, well, I didn't get hit. Well, that's keep going.
Yeah.
If that's not, yeah. So,
and those are kids that we're talking about. This is an adult
in
a position of authority, responsibility.
So, yeah, Pete Hegseth is in a bit of a pickle right now. I just, the whole thing of sharing it with his wife and his brother, that actually sort of bothers me quite a bit. I don't think there's the details of those things. I just don't think. I don't know. Maybe I'm really totally old school. I just think there should be a big wall.
Well, I don't think you're the only one who's bothered by this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how old school you are. I think you're kind of.
I'm on the right school.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, there's also a talk now maybe not because of that, and it's got to be true because it's on NPR. So NPR is passing this on exclusively. That the White House is now looking possibly to replace Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. Now, I don't know if that, Donald Trump is very stubborn.
Yeah.
He will go to the mattresses for somebody if he wants to, or he will cut them loose.
Yeah.
And let them, fly away in the wind.
Well, he doesn't want people to make him look like he made a bad choice.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And if somebody's had two chances now to do that, you want to, I don't know.
Well, the other thing is once you let the person go, has that action admitted that you shouldn't have done it? In other words, is self-preservation demand or encourage somebody to say, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to ride this horse all the way. You know what I mean?
All the way off the edge of the cliff.
I picked him. I stood by him. And I'm, by goodness, I'm not going to, because if I do, that's all I'm going to hear about from you people is how, look, he didn't even know he picked the wrong guy. Even he admitted it, or he wouldn't be looking for another one. I think he'd rather have somebody that is not, I don't know. I mean, I think it's human nature. I do. I think a lot of people will be the same way to say, look, I'm not going to admit that I was wrong. I'm just going to keep on doing this right here, and I hope it doesn't go bad. But I'm not going to give you that satisfaction.
Is that admitting you were wrong, or is that just admitting that you made that this person really let you down?
Well, they might have let you down, but
you had higher expectations, and they let you down.
Well, I think those two things can be true, but you have that take place within 100 days of the time they take their position.
Yeah.
When you have all the possible ways to check them out. And remember, there was some concern about, we don't need the background checks. We don't need background checks. I'm just going to, chat with them and see, how I feel about it. And, I got to, sometimes you can tell. And so I can tell who the good guys are. Pretty good judge's character. And so I think you're right. It could be a deal where it's like, oh man, that guy really let me on. Well, like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions is a great example. Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, remind me the details.
In the first Trump administration, there was the whole thing about the Russia, and he expected that Jeff Sessions was going to come in and shut this stuff down and cancel this stuff out and not work. Well, Jeff Sessions, what did he do? He recused himself. He said, I can't really be a fair judge on that because of some visits and different things he had with the Russian, not nefarious things, just different things that he said, I shouldn't be the one to decide this. And the president, I think a lot of people thought that President Trump thought that the attorney general is like your personal attorney for the president. And which you'd say, well, that's really pretty stupid, except that is kind of how a lot of people felt like it was with Jack Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy, that Bobby sort of did the bidding
right.
of, he wasn't just the the people's lawyer, representing the best for the United States. He was there to sort of oversee and protect his brother. And so anyway, that's an example of somebody that he had on and that totally disappointed him. I don't think, though, I think he went to the wall for Hegseth. The other thing is, I think Trump has made a big deal of what he knows now that he didn't know before. The first time I didn't know anything. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I didn't have to get this stuff done. Didn't know how it all worked. Didn't know really how to use my power. This time I do. Okay, so this is a redo. And if Hegseth turns out to be not the guy, I don't think it really can be. He just really let me down. I think it's that maybe you should have, maybe you picked the wrong guy. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess I just don't, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably too reductive to think it's a male-female thing. That if a man makes a choice like that, they feel like they do have to kind of stick with that guy because I made the choice. And
pride, men, all that kind of stuff.
Saying that I made the wrong choice reflects on me even more poorly than watching this guy that I chose continue to make mistakes and become sort of, the butt of jokes. And rather than just kind of laying low and doing the right thing and getting the job done.
I think it's probably right. I think men are more like that. I mean, when I'm driving on the road and I see a guy that I didn't cut him off, but let's say I wasn't going as fast as he wanted me to go, because I don't really drive fast very much anymore. I don't drive slow, but I'm not a really zippity doo dah driver. And if the guy thinks if he has like the guns around me, I know it's a guy. I can tell. I mean, I just know. Yeah, that's a guy. It's a guy that's going to pass me because that's the way guys are. It just is. Now probably he's a lot younger than I am, because at some point you either mellow out or you burn out.
Or just decide your life is more valuable than you once thought it was.
True. That's true. Anyway, so I think you're probably right. But I would just say that Hegseth, just for stability, I'd like no more nonsense and foolishness, and just forge ahead and keep the guys and the women that are most of them. Some I don't really like at all, but. Stability is a good thing, I think.
Stability is a good thing. So how many times does Hegseth get to do this same thing before? And I'm not saying he is. Maybe he won't. Maybe it'll never happen again. Maybe there's a really good excuse for why it happened this second time. But how many times does, I was going to say a guy, but it could be
anybody,
a woman just as easily. How
many
times do they get to make that same mistake before you say too much?
Yeah, I think probably zero more times. I think this is sort of the threshold.
Yeah, I can live with that. Yeah, if 2 times is the limit.
Zero, whatever that is, and just let's just all be adults and let's get the job done.
Yeah.
Oh, before we go to Scattershoot. I noticed that it was on this day. Is this April 22nd?
It is.
Yeah, April 22nd. It was, hey, happy Earth Day.
Oh, thank you.
Aw, it's not easy being green, It was on this day in the year 2000.
Okay.
Okay, let's go down a row. Let's play a little game. When we had the radio show, year after year after year after year, and even years after it was no more, people would come up to me and they would say this: you know what? I agreed with you on everything except for one thing.
I know what it is.
And I would, of course, I would always say, what were you wrong about? Which, is a nice little icebreaker, sort of. If they're maybe you can tell quickly if they're tolerant.
Either that or they punch you in the face.
If they're not, I run the other way. Run. But this is the one thing they say I absolutely disagreed with you on. What?
Elian Gonzalez.
Elian Gonzalez. That kid is now whatever it is. That was in 2000. He's 27 years old. He's probably 30 years old now. Elian Gonzalez, I don't have time to go through the whole thing, but we all probably remember what it was. The dad stayed behind in Cuba. Yeah. Communist Cuba. The mom was on some life raft or whatever, floating toward Florida. Right. Something happens. The mom dies. Elian is, dumped on the shore with some others.
Right.
And the question is, does he go back to his country?
Remind me, you said the dad stayed behind. Did the dad know that the mom was leaving with
That's a
him?
real good question. I can't recall that. I don't know the answer to that.
Uh-huh.
And that might actually play in
Yeah.
to the whole thing. But I just, and I really hate to even bring this up because if it's the one thing that everybody disagreed with me on, it's possible that I'm wrong about it. But I just believed that a child should not be taken from his parent.
And his dad wanted him back.
His dad loved him. His dad wanted him back, but his dad lived in Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
Cuba is communist. And we had person after person after person who would send me sort of, not really nasty, but sort of, you could see it from there, notes saying, so you really believe, and it's by definition, he is an unfit father because he would raise his child in a communist country and all this kind of stuff. And don't you know that his life, little Elion's life, would be so much better in America? And I would always say, listen, man, have you been to Appalachia? Because I've been to Appalachia. And there's not a kid in Appalachia who wouldn't be better off being taken from his parents and shuttled over to middle America, where they have indoor plumbing and they have food and water that isn't contaminated. So if that's going to be your standard about how you take a kid away from a parent, that someone else is going to decide that, good luck. Because at some point, they may be coming for your kids because you're not doing the right thing. So I just believed, and you go, Billy Graham's wife, Ruth Bell Graham. Ruth Bell was raised, as I recall, the majority of her life where? Communist China.
She was, yep.
Her parents chose to raise her. They're not in the communist system. I know
they
it's
were
different.
Not communists.
They were not communists. Yeah. But that was the country. In the same way, I just think it's the right of a dad. It's the right of someone to raise their kid in a religion I disagree with. Well, that's the evidence of bad parenting. Unfit parent is if they would raise it in a cult. Well, just be careful about that kind of stuff. So anyway, all that to say that I can't believe it. I wonder what little Elion's doing now. We should have him on the podcast.
I bet it is knowable what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'll look that up.
He might be like a revolutionary leader or something now. And then in which case I'm gonna retract all that I've said. Say absolutely should have gone to a family in Canton.
Cuban engineer and politician.
Three blonde kids in Canton and their little other brother Elion. It would probably go well for him, don't you think? He wouldn't stand out in that crowd. He's a politician, really.
Well,
Man,
I don't. Yeah,
that could portend some interesting things at some point. But I was for him going back to his dad.
He's 31 years old.
Yeah, there you go, 31. So he was 6 years old. It wasn't nice. It wasn't fun to watch him sort of, be hauled off by was it Janet Reno's ATF boys?
Yeah, the whole thing was just tragic.
Woo, dang, that's crazy. Crazy times. Oh, one more thing. Just, I know this phrase gets old, but evidence that they don't get it. They don't get it. You saw the visit down to El Salvador by the Democrat lawmaker who flew down to have a chat with the alleged MS-13 wife-beating gang member, illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Who was sent down to El Salvador. The guy who went down to sit and spend time was one of those Democrats that could not stand and honor that little black boy that survived cancer.
Yikes.
So think about that for a second. This is a guy that couldn't stand and honor a kid who had survived cancer. And yet he is going through all the paces for this guy down. I mean, the American people, they shake their head.
Yeah.
They really do. They go, yeah, you guys still don't get it. You don't get it. Oh, it is time for, what is it?
Scattershoot.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's time for Scattershoot. Okay, Wilder Show, Scattershoot, and I got something. You got something. You have something too. Do you have a quiz?
I do have a quiz.
I love quizzes. I'm not very good at quizzes. Yeah, I'm not very good at it. I like to learn. Learning is fun. But I'm not very good at it. Is it true, false?
It's not true, false. It's multiple choice, and I thought it was kind of cool. I've actually looked at a few of the questions. I didn't do very well myself.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's kind of a big... There's a difference between the two of us.
Okay.
I'm not going to say too much. I'll wait. Right. Is that what we're going to do right now? Or
Yeah,
are we going to
let's do it now. That's good. Let's do the quiz. I like quizzes. We'll start with the quiz.
Okay, so this quiz...
What is it about?
It's about how... can you guess what the price of certain everyday items was in 1995?
Hold on, 1995.
Yeah. Now, they're not all groceries. There are a lot of groceries. And the reason I was going to say I thought I would do better at this, in 1995, were you the primary grocery shopper in your home?
No.
Yeah. See, in 1995, I was. So I thought that I would be kind of good at this.
We'll
but
see
I've missed.
So 1995, let me think when that was. 1995, 95. So the boys were just born. In 95, so
you might have been doing some grocery shopping.
Probably was,
then.
but I must say that whole year was a blur.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Twin
too.
boys, and then
you're just throwing this stuff in the cart.
Yeah, it's like I'm paying. Well, what'd you pay? I pay what it cost. I don't know. Just eat it. So yeah, let's go. You got just a few of these we can go down?
I do.
Price in 1995.
The price in 1995.
Okay,
the first one, what do we hear so much about? The cost of eggs.
Okay, eggs.
Okay, so what did a dozen eggs cost in 1995? I'm going to give you a couple of choices. 79 cents, 97 cents, $1.50, or $2.25.
Okay, it wasn't $2.25.
You're right. So now you've narrowed it down to 79 cents, 97 cents, or $1.50.
I'm going to say 79 cents.
97 cents.
Oh, dang. Okay.
97
All right.
cents.
Okay, go ahead. Number 2.
Okay, how much did a 2-liter bottle of soda typically cost?
Oh, boy. 2-liter bottle of soda.
2-liter bottle.
Let me think for a second. 2, 4. Okay. Give me a go.
51 cents, 79 cents, $1.19, or $2. I did get this one right.
$1.19 for 2 liters would be 60 cents per liter. That seems reasonable. I'm going to say $1.19.
79 cents. 79 cents. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
So go ahead.
Bread.
Right,
How much did a loaf of bread cost 30 years ago, 1995? You want to think about it for a second, or you want the choices?
Give me choices.
39 cents, 95 cents, $1.15, or $2.30.
Ooh, $2.30. It's not $2.30. Let me think for a second. $2.30.
I didn't get this one right either.
I have no idea, but I'm going to say...
It's making me feel kind of bad.
Give me 95 cents.
No, that's what I guessed too, but it's $1.15.
I am wrong every time.
$1.15.
And you know what? I'm wrong exactly by one item too low, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right,
I think you're right. You're really close, just not quite there.
Okay,
this one you might do a little bit better at. What was the average price for a gallon of gas in 1995? You ready?
Yes.
75 cents, $1.15, $1.95, or $2.25.
It wasn't $2.25.
It wasn't.
And it wasn't $1.95. 75 seems low. I'm going to go $1.15.
Good job. Hey. $1.15. I was wrong. I said $1.95.
Okay,
Very good. Very good.
So far, I'm at 25%, but
okay,
that's okay. 1 for 4.
Do you want? I have 2 more. We're going to do 2 more.
Okay.
But and one of them is a gallon of milk.
Gallon of milk. Okay.
So let's do the gallon of milk, and then I'll give you your choice of just a few more. So gallon of milk, 99 cents, $1.39, $1.85, or $2.50.
I go $1.39.
It was $2.50.
Are you kidding me?
$2.50.
Wow, goodness gracious.
I got that wrong too. And I was doing, I bet I was doing
all of it.
90% of the grocery shopping in 1995. And none of these things just stuck with me. Right. But okay, so one more? One more, maybe 2 more. Do you remember how much a Big Mac cost in 1995? You want your choices?
Yeah, give me choices.
79 cents.
No.
95 cents.
Maybe.
$1.15.
Maybe.
$2.10.
Not $2.10. I'm gonna go. It's
I don't think you're going to get this one. Maybe you will. Maybe you will.
I'm going to say 95.
It was 95 cents.
See, I just think from a marketing standpoint, they wanted it under $1. So 95, sell more of it at 95 than you would at 115, even though the marginal profit per burger, 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. So there you go. So got one. All right. Well, give me one more.
You want one more?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. How about a 16-ounce bag of potato chips? Okay, 98 cents.
Wait, 16 ounce. So that's the bigger one. Like a family size.
Yeah, that's a good size. Yeah, that's not like an individual size.
Yeah, okay,
no,
gotcha. 16 ounce.
Yeah.
Go.
98 cents.
98.
$1.35.
$1.35.
$2.25. $2.99.
But it wasn't $2.99. It wasn't $2.25. I'm going to go $1.35.
It was $2.99.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Golly.
I got that one right.
Potatoes. Who'd have thunk?
It's probably not the potatoes. It's all that salt and oil and all the stuff that makes them taste so good.
Yeah, let me tell you a story here. You've prompted me to think about. Okay, this goes way back. 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Born here. Right here. Southland Company, Southland Corporation.
Right.
Originally called Totem Stores. Southland was originally the ice. It was an ice company, Southland Ice.
Okay.
And you would buy blocks of ice for your ice box. Big blocks of ice that you would shove in that bottom compartment to cool the rest of the, essentially an igloo.
Yeah.
And then they said, people come and buy here every day. They come by here every day to get ice, or every 2 days to get ice. What if we sold some other things? And they said, well, what things would we sell? And I said,
what other things do people need every day?
I think on a regular basis, why don't we start with milk, bread, and eggs?
Right.
Milk, bread, and eggs. Started selling milk, bread, and eggs. Ultimately became, 7-Eleven. Well, fast forward, years and years and years. I have my first job in a grocery store, first job ever, where you pay taxes. And it was a grocery store, Vineyard Food Stores. And when you would come in to work a shift as a stocker, you had the very first thing you always did was you refilled 3 things. Okay. Milk, bread, and eggs. Every single time. Because that was just sort of the common thread through all these things.
Sure.
Anyway, milk, bread, and eggs. So that I failed the test. I think did I get one right or 2 right?
No, you got at least 2 right. You did at least as well as I did. Maybe you beat me.
Yesterday was the anniversary of the Battle of San Jacinto.
Right.
The Battle of San Jacinto. And it was what secured Texas as a republic. And we conquered the Mexican army. Right. And it was de Santa Anna that we conquered. It was Sam Houston. And that battle was only 18 minutes long.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Probably, maybe not the most important single date in Texas history, but probably the most important 18 minutes in Texas history, I would guess, is that. And of course, the big thing there was that happened on the 21st of April. Right. And what had happened on March the 6th was what gave the rallying cry. And that was Remember the Alamo. Sure. And so do you have time for one little Alamo story? Sure. Is that okay? Tapley Holland. Who was Tapley Holland?
I don't know.
Tapley Holland is one of the bravest guys, I guess, who ever lived in Texas. And nobody knows who Tapley Holland was. And as the story goes, back after Mexico, the Mexican army had issued sort of a decree, sort of a final warning from the Mexican army to those who were trapped in the Alamo to surrender or be massacred. Colonel William Barrett Travis took his sword and put it down in the sand and drew a line in the sand after getting the warning from the Mexican army that, you're going to stay, you're going to get massacred. And so all his men were standing on the other side of the line. And he drew this line in the sand and he said, "Who will come and die with me for Texas?"
Wow.
And the very first person who did it was Tapley Holland. Oh, wow. Tapley Holland was the first. Do you remember, do you even remember the people that, obviously William B. Travis died, But do you remember the other famous ones that died? I mean, the Bowie knife, James Bowie died
Sure.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But did you recall that Davy Crockett died there?
Now that you say
Isn't that
it,
something?
but I probably, I don't think I moved here until
Texas
after
history.
Texas history was.
Oh, so you didn't do seventh. You weren't here in seventh
I
grade.
wasn't here in seventh
Oh,
grade.
you missed all the fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fourth grade. I guess, was it?
Ask my kids; they could probably tell you.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was just part of the lore of the Alamo. The other thing of the Alamo for me is I remember going there as a kid and seeing the calling cards.
Mm-hmm.
And the calling cards, these days you'd have, you don't even have cards anymore, I guess. But you have a business card. It would have, your address and your email address, have your phone number, your cell phone number, and whatever. Mm-hmm. And but in the old days, they didn't have any phones, obviously, and many people didn't even have an address.
Right.
And I remember reading Stephen F. Austin, his calling card, because they had his calling card among the artifacts there in the Alamo. And I am a native Texan, so I am from Texas. But Stephen F. Austin was not from Texas. But his calling card just said this: Stephen F. Austin of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I got sort of obsessed with the from and the of, that you don't have to be from to be of.
I thought you were going to say it said, got here as fast as I could.
That was on the back.
Yeah.
No, but I thought it was fascinating. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I still use Scott Wilder of Texas.
That's right.
On some things. But in any case, those are a couple of my Alamo stories.
You're a leader, right?
I don't know.
In a position of power.
I don't know. I sort of eschew that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm more of a leading follower. I think I'm a good. I'll tell you why. I think I'm a good follower because I've been in a position of leadership before, and it is really hard.
Yeah.
To be a leader, I think.
Oh, I think it is too.
I think it really is because you're responsible for a lot of things. Look, I've had to fire people I didn't want to fire. I had to enforce things I didn't want to enforce, and even the people that told me to go do those things later, when they're caught in a meeting, they're going, "I don't know what he's thinking." It's like, what? You're the one that told me to. So, but as a follower, as a leading follower, I can be a good helper, like a really good co-pilot. But I can pilot. Sure, I can lead if I must. If if nature abhors a void. If there is a void, or if the bus is about to go off the cliff, I'll wrest control of the steering wheel if I must.
It's entirely possible, maybe, that I didn't ask the question right, because I think you're really going to love this.
Okay, go ahead.
And you're going to understand it well from the get-go. There are 6 verbs that make you sound weak, no matter what your job title is. But in any kind of office setting, in any business setting, any negotiation type setting, these are words you should not say. They're all verbs. You should never say, and give me a second to
let it
you
breathe.
should never use the expression. You should never use the word think in terms of, I think we should move ahead with the project, or I think you have a good idea.
Weak.
Yeah.
Seems weak.
That's it, doesn't it though?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's very indecisive and almost deferential, and nobody wants to follow someone who thinks they're not going to take keep the bus on the path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In ordinary conversation, I think is kind of a throwaway phrase. But if you're in a business setting, you should say things like, "That's a great idea," or "That's an excellent proposal," or "I'm confident your plan will work."
Now you got it.
It'd be good if you really believed that too.
But you gotta.
Yes.
You have to inspire that in others, even if you feel a little bit iffy.
You're going to love this next
Go
one.
ahead.
Need. You should never say, "I need this report as soon as possible. I need you to do something for me.
No.
I need you to do it." That makes you sound what? It makes you sound needy. It makes you sound also like they're doing that thing for
That's
you.
a favor. It's not a favor.
Instead of it being the right thing to do. So say what could you say instead? Something like, "Please have this report to me by next Friday."
That
It's
report,
hard to do though, isn't it?
That report is due on Friday.
That's right.
Have it to
Have
me
it done by
have
Friday.
it Friday or before.
Okay.
Before it's okay.
So kind of along the same lines, want. Want is really similar to need.
To need, want.
It suggests that you
really
are
want to.
wanting or lacking in some way. So if a boss tells somebody who works for him, I want you to improve the quality of your work, you should just say your work on this report needs to be higher quality.
No question.
Not because you want it. It's just because that is the way it is. How about if you were to say, I want a raise?
Oh, boy. Don't get me started on this thing.
Far better
I want
way
a raise.
to say that is, I believe my pay and performance during the last year make a strong case for a raise.
That's right. That's
How's
right.
that?
Yeah, that's
How's
right.
that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, there are just a few more here. We'll go through them kind of quickly. They're two of them are kind of similar. How about guess? Don't ever say like our best guess is that our profit for year's end will be, I've never said a sentence like this. Our best guess is that our profit for year's end will be marginally better than last year's.
What does
You
that
expect
mean?
it. You're not guessing.
Right.
Guessing obviously sounds kind of weak, don't you think? Or our results should surpass last year's. Yeah, I think we're pretty good at stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
we
I
don't
think
ever
so.
say
Yeah.
we speak with more
I think
confidence.
so. I think
than
so.
that
Yeah.
in business kind of
Yeah,
things.
I think so.
Another one is hope, and I think this is kind of tough because people
all
really
wishy-washy though.
But you always want to sound like you're hopeful. You're hopeful for good things to happen. I hope we'll
But
get that sale.
confident and hope are different.
I hope you'll be able to take on that assignment. That's exactly right. Hope and confidence are different. Different. If you say, I'm looking forward to a win, or I know you'll give it your all, that doesn't even necessarily mean you are expecting a win, but you know that the effort will be there. Okay. Last one, suppose. Don't say, I suppose so, whether it's an invitation or really anything that you're being asked to do. Either yes or no.
Yeah.
Let your yes be yes,
There
let
you
your
go.
no be no,
I've heard
but
that before.
no, I suppose in there. That's it.
I think part of the thing is that people need more from work than they should be able to get from work. I think people want work to be grander than the place where you go to make money to then go have a life.
Oh, yeah?
I think sometimes people want work to be more like, these are where all my friends are, and this is where all my stuff is, and where all my, and in a world where people need when a world where people need that, it becomes almost personal, where you feel like you're asking a favor of someone. It's like, but it's not personal. This is just business. This is just the way it is. I mean, this is what we're bringing to you, and this is what you're not doing me a favor. If, let's say, an employer and employee. Ideally, the employer is not doing a favor to the employee by giving them money, and the employee is not doing a favor for the boss by working hard for them.
Right.
It is an agreement. It is an understanding that I do my part like this, and you do your part like this, and if all goes well, there's an advancement of the organization or the goal or whatever it is we're trying to achieve. But it doesn't happen because it's personal. It's nice to have friends where you work. I mean, you and I have both been really blessed in our life, our work life, to be able to work with people that, for the most part, I'm not talking about right now, you and me, Lauren, but for the most part, we liked. But for the most part, we liked. I mean, even people who worked for, and even people who worked for us when I was in a position of management. But I didn't really, not everybody views work that way. I did. I do. It makes it hard if you're the boss of someone, I'm the boss of you. If you really are the boss of someone, and they are a little more needy. They need work. They need work to be more than it is, and so you're sort of sterile and hard-edged, black and white ness.
They're looking for somebody to please.
Yeah, they want,
if they can get that approval from someone else, that's like the icing on top of the cake of the achievement of whatever the goal was.
This will sound so harsh, and I said it when I was 30 years old.
You're not looking for bowling partners?
No, that's something different. But I did say that. I said that to you.
You did.
I said, listen, I'm here to work. I'm not looking for bowling partners, which I thought was really a rude thing to say. I wasn't, let's be clear. I wasn't chopping you down.
No, you were.
I was talking about something else.
You were describing a place of employment, and the culture there was kind of warm and fuzzy, and everybody really cared
squishy.
about how you were doing, and there were people there who did want to be friends. And in response to that, you said,
I said to you, only to me. I said, I'm not looking for bowling partners. This is my job. I need to do this. But I remember a guy one time. Oh gosh, I get nervous even talking about this because he's currently a friend. And he said to me once about apparently he needed more encouragement than I was able to, either that I was providing to him as a manager or that I was probably capable of providing to anyone. So it wasn't really about him. I wasn't withholding these good things from this good man. But he expressed some frustration with me and said, why don't I ever get, I think I had put a note in, at the radio station, you have a little box where you go and pick up your stuff.
Yeah.
And it could be a commercial you have to cut, or it could be instructions or something. It's a little cubby. And so they say box. And so he would say, why don't I ever get a note in my box when I do something right? And I said, you do, twice a month. And it's redeemable for cash, which I know is really harsh to say.
I remember.
But that was, and it was sort of a shock to the system. But it's like, just for it's like, oh yeah. This is not a game. This is our work.
Yeah.
And let's take it. Let's look. We can be fun, and we can have fun, and we have time off, and we can spend time and laugh and do all those things. I'm for all those things. But when it's all pared down, your family is your family, and your work is your work. And your work should not be your life.
Right.
Your life should be your life, and your work funds your life. And when I see a lot of people sort of crossing those lines, it makes me nervous. And honestly, I can't, as a manager, that's why I go back to what we started. I'm a good leading follower, because when I'm put in that position of having to be the man or be the person, whatever, it's like, I don't know, got to tell the truth. You just got to lay it out. You probably might agree. I could probably do better at some things.
Well,
so
couldn't we all?
No, but I mean, seriously, I could be, softer. Less whatever, but I think it's good to have work and life separated.
Sure.
Have your work be your work, and let your work fund your life. But look, I know a guy who, let me be careful how many details I put in here. I know a guy who took a job, and all the things that kept him in that job had nothing to do with being successful, had nothing to do with him making money.
What did keep him there?
Little things like doing favors for the boss and those kinds of things. Hey, really, I need to be picked up at the airport, or like all those kinds of things. It's
and so pleasing, like getting that
I really
kind of reinforcement,
And at the end of that day, man, that boss, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's just using that person who's hanging on. And if that person, for whatever reason, they either don't or they can't get the job done, they then feel this weird obligation to, well, if I'm not doing it over here, maybe I should be picking up the dry cleaning, or maybe I should be, mowing the lawn, or whatever it is. The things were driving the cousins to and from the airport.
Or maybe those things will make up for the fact that I'm really not as good. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There may feel pressure, like, okay, I can't get this done. So if I do this other stuff, then I'm gonna be able to, make up for it. But that is a horrible spiral to get into, because that is not a way to build confidence, especially, not to be a whole gender thing, but especially in a man. I mean, a grown man. That is not a way to build confidence in a man. Is if a grown man is, the way to build it is to have success based on achievement, not based on gifts and favors.
Right.
Have it be that you actually earned it. And you can take pride in that. And you build on that. It doesn't mean you're all puffed up and all that stuff. Anyway, aren't you glad we talked about work? Okay, find us on the music side if you want. The Light turnonthelight.com or the Light app. You go wherever you get your apps and you just search the Light DFW. And Lauren and I are with you from 5 to 9 in the morning, weekday mornings. Mm-hmm. And we get to play some really good music.
We do.
And then, of course, the podcast. Thank you. Instagram, you just search Wilder Pod, and you will find it there. If you want to send us email, just email podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share, and we will see you next time. Colonel William Barrett, what did I say? I don't really understand it, but it's a good topic. If you understand it, I'm sure it'll be great. I'm serious.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
So rest in Peep.
It's Easter. You still have Easter
yeah, peeps.
On your mind.
Hold on, off the air now. What's his name? Short, Southern talking, country.
do 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 do